Radio presents The Center with your host, DC Radical One.
Greetings, Black family, and welcome to On the Wake Up Radio. I am your host, DC Radical One, and you have entered the center. Shout out to our wonderful producer, Cindy Ashby. You can check us out on SoundCloud, YouTube, iTunes Podcast, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, and iHeartRadio at On the Wake Up Radio. More important than all of that, you can check us out at otwtube.com. That's otwtube.com, as well as on thewakeupradio.com. That's on thewakeupradio.com. Let me get a little comfortable here. So, got a couple of announcements before I get started, and y'all let me know if you can hear me clearly before I get to rambling. BB48 I Island, good to see you, family. I'm seeing you in a minute. BB48 Straight Black Pride to Elijah Gaines, and BB48 Straight Black Pride to Sister Fonessa. I didn't send the notifications out as early as I had recently, so I'm assuming people will get in here slowly but surely. Greetings to Mel Selector 101. Okay, y'all can hear me loud and clear. Good. So first and foremost, as we see, we got the well, now, first of all, let me say this. Let me take a minute to do some non straight Black Pride business. I'm a little fatigued today. And the reason I'm a little fatigued today is last night, of course, was one of the biggest fights in boxing in the last 20 years. Peace and blessings to Brother Crow. Myself, some of the straight Black Pride family got together, had a impromptu small gathering, fight party, if you will. And, you know, not as young as I used to be. So I left late and got home late. So, but it was good to see the family together, you know what I'm saying, and enjoy each other's company. The fight was not it did not go as I expected. I expected more of a competitive bout, but I will say congratulations to Mr. Terrence Crawford. I did not have him winning the fight, so I was 100% wrong, and I have no problem stating that publicly. I knew he's very skilled, but it was a master class in boxing, counter punching, and it's really one of the best performances I've seen in a championship fight between two extremely skilled combatants. So now that I got that out of the way, straight Black Pride BB48 to Africa Ra. I see Lee Clinton in the building. Coming up in 3 weeks. Man, time flies. 9th annual Straight Black Pride Movement Anniversary Cookout. Y'all know sometimes we have cookouts for the Straight Black Pride Anniversary. Sometimes we have lectures. Sometimes we do different events. This year we're doing the cookout. At Sunday, August 20th, 2023. Like I said, in 3 weeks, starting at 12 noon and ending. Says 6 here. A lot of times we normally end around dark, but it's be one of those that gives you 6-7 hours if you actually show up like reasonably on time. And that's going to be at Oxen Run Park Shelter, 2300 Oxen Run Drive, Temple Hills, Maryland, 20748. This event is free for all straight, Black, and proud people. So if you're in the DMV area or you're on the East Coast and you can make it down, you're coming from, say, Baltimore, Philly, something like that, you just want to come in for the weekend, BB48 Straight Black Pride to BB48, man. Yeah, you have 3 weeks notice. Some of you on the email list, you may have got notice before. My apologies for not doing it earlier. I didn't get the flyer till recently, even though I knew of the event, but everything was not finalized as far as I knew at the time. So we have that coming up. And then, of course, also we have coming up, we have another event coming up. We have our, if I can bring it up, let me see, hold on. Let's see, do we have it? But we have the David Duke event coming up as well. And this will be Monday, September 11th, 2023. Live stream scheduled between discussion with our brother Aoki Mathi, aka the Irritated Genie, and also with David Duke. And this will be live stream at inblackandwhite.net. That's inblackandwhite.net. And since it seems like for whatever reason I can't bring that up at the moment, which I don't quite understand. If anyone needs that, I will DM. If you follow me on Instagram, and you follow me on Instagram, dc.radical1, I'll just DM you the flyer with the information. But that'll be free. And that discussion, historic discussion, let's be honest, we really haven't seen radical African nationalists and radical white nationalists sit down at the table for any type of dialogue. Of course, those of you who have followed me and followed Brother Janie, Straight Black Pride, this is for this to even be discussed, for there to be a discussion of a discussion, you have to understand that the situation is critical, right? I just say it that way. And, we've never, if I think about historically, I'm trying to think about historically, and if anybody has any historical precedence to what I'm about to say, it is very rare that anyone has come the black side who was coming to any of our many array of foes 100% black, representing our interests to other people and unequivocally saying, okay, look, this is what we have, this is what we have to offer, these are our terms. Where do you stand? What of that can you meet? What can we agree to? What can we not agree to? We've never been at a point where we were represented by people who were genuinely about black people in any type of serious discussion, right? On occasion, we've had through back channels and things. I believe the Nation of Islam, Elijah Muhammad, and I forgot the Klansman's name back in the day. Mr. Garvey had some meetings, with my understanding, with some Klansmen. And so, following in that tradition, Brother Genie is, and Brother Crow just mentioned it right, Brother Garvey. So, following that tradition, Brother Genie is following that tradition to, just following in the line of divine, if you will. Before the brother, you got ripped off. Brother Derek Witherspoon says, do I agree with his dealing with white supremacist groups? Yeah, because I know what the ultimate objective is, and we talked extensively. I know what he's trying to accomplish, and I know his motivations. And there are things, I'm gonna be honest, there's things I can't talk about here on YouTube, um, for reasons. And if you know YouTube, you understand. You don't know who owns it, you understand. So yeah, it's not. I'll be completely honest. It's not a kumbaya session or a less love white folks session. It's nothing like that. That's where black people get confused because we've never addressed, we've never had a sovereign African speak to anyone on behalf of our interests. You understand what I'm saying? So that's why we like, oh man, why would you do that? Well, let's be realistic. The people that we gonna have the most problem with as far as a physical confrontation are gonna be people who are either above board or undercover white nationalists. You know what I'm saying? Everybody becomes not a racist after they get caught. You know what I'm saying? Doing racism. But we know good and well that they're all racist. Like we know this, despite what they may say. So I mean, I understand people's concerns and why people are like, man, I don't understand. I wouldn't do this and that and so forth, so on. But I look at it like this: do you think that when he goes and talks to these people, that they're just sitting there with open arms, like, oh wow, man, this is a great guy, this and this and that? Nah, from the other side, they looking at their people like, why are you meeting with these Negroes? Like, this is straight up. See, we don't never look at it that way. We just think, man, why are we doing this? But there are people saying the same thing. Why are you doing this? You know what I'm saying? We have no that's what I'm looking for. We're under no illusion that there's any love, or we're not looking for um you know what I'm saying, any type of what's the word I'm looking for? We're not, you know what I'm saying, we're not looking for friendship. Greetings, Unique One Express. We're not looking for any friendship or any love or any kumbaya from people who've been open enemies for thousands of years. And that's not the point. The point is, can you negotiate terms that are mutually beneficial for both parties in a day and time where a global genocide is taking place as we speak? You see what I'm saying? See, that's the part that brother, I don't know if you're not aware of. I don't know if you haven't been following what's going on. I don't know if you don't have access to the information. I have no clue. But, and by the way, I forgot to mention, Brother Jenny is actually scheduled to come on next week. And so you can ask him again. You can ask him personally. But there's a global genocide, depopulation that's been explicitly stated by the people in charge. You see what I'm saying? So it's not we're going to genocide just black people. Nah, they've been saying that. They just threw everybody else in the mix later on. So once the other people figure out, oh wait a minute, hold up, we on the menu, then that's when they like, maybe we, maybe we need to change what we're doing and see how we figure this out. So that's where we are with that right now. So what I wanted to do is tonight's discussion is we're going to talk about Attack of the Transformers. And y'all pretty much kind of know where we're going with this, I suspect. And the reality of the situation is that we are Okay, let me say this. What sparked this whole conversation, of course, is the whole just hilarious video that she put up. I don't know if she put up on Instagram or TikTok. And Just Hilarious is a comedian, and she is um I just know her from the internet. I don't know, I don't know her, like I don't know if she's popular. Like I don't know if she goes out on tours and things like that. Like I don't know how big she is or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? Like to me, I just saw her on the internet. Somebody introduced me to her on the internet, maybe goodness 6-7 years ago, something like that. And so I know her from that. And she basically came out and made a statement and said, "Well, who's going to protect? In essence, who's going to protect black women?" And I see brother, I see the brother still talking. I just say this, brother, real quick, and then we'll get into the conversation. Your analysis is incorrect based upon your understanding of who is whose people in that. And that's all I'll say to that. So we're going to get into this first article real quick. And here's the thing before we get started fully. I went to look for and download the video that the sister had made, and I couldn't find it. And come to find out, she had deleted it. Here's what I'm gonna say. Oh, thank you, brother. Music. Appreciate you so much. That's right. Appreciate you so much. I got so enthralled in the discussion with the brother that I missed my thing again. All right, there we go. Here's the thing that black people, well, not people in general, especially black people, but I mean, we do it so much. But people in general, here's something that has to happen amongst our people before I even get started. One of the things that we have to do is when you make a statement that is, first of all, y'all let me know if the music is up too loud. Because that's one thing I've never been able to be 100% sure of. Because, all right, hold on. See if I can get this right. All right, so y'all let me know. Put up a thumbs up in the chat if the music is sufficiently loud enough or need to be turned down. One of the things that black people have to do, especially, is when you make a statement of fact and you are correct, right? Stand on it. Don't back up. Don't moonwalk. Don't change your mind. Don't delete what you posted. Don't turn off your notifications. Don't delete your account. If you say something that's right, stand on it. The reason I say that is because if you stand on it, of course, you're going to get the backlash. But if you don't stand on it, you're going to get the backlash because you said it in the internet forever. But if you stand on it, then other people who secretly, or as I put it like this, not publicly, agree with you, can then support you. You see what I'm saying? But because we so scared, and I understand why, because you're scared you're gonna get canceled. Which at first I never really understood. I'm like, get canceled for what? But then I was like, if monetarily, if financially you're dependent on certain things, right? Like the way you make your money can be affected, then I can understand you backing up. But here's the thing, there's a silent large percentage of people who will agree with you again if you are correct. And those people who wouldn't even have paid you any attention would support you. I'm gonna be completely honest. I don't follow Jess Hilarious. I don't really, like I said, I know who she is. I'm not gonna go buy any tickets to a Jess Hilarious show. But you know what? Let's just be completely honest. If she had a stood on it and said, look, I'm a black woman. I've been a woman since I came out the womb. I know the experiences of black women. We have experiences that we experience that can't be experienced by other people, regardless of the amount of surgery and whatever else is going on. And that's it. No ifs, ands, buts about it. And if you don't like it, we can get into a roasting session and I'm going to just roast you and make you look like a clown. And if she had did that, and then I would have laughed and been like, you know what? If she come to town, I'm going to support her. Not because I think she hilarious, as it says her name, but because she stood on something that was real and it was personal to women. I'm not even a woman, but I'm like, I just looked at it and said, what is it? I mean, to me, it's crazy, if we're being honest, to me, that this is a debatable issue, and that a woman can say, hey, we have unique issues and we have unique problems, and who's going to vouch for us? And people was up in arms and like, what do you mean? And this and this and that. Let's be clear. We're talking about people who are born male. Biologically, they have an X and Y chromosome. Again, I did a radical report where a professor, stated these basic biological facts, and apparently was fired for it. You can check that out on the page. I don't care how much we want to argue or debate it. The biology doesn't change. You can try to change the anatomy. You can do all types of surgery, but the biology doesn't change. A sister showed me a picture of a post-op transgender going not male to female, but female to male. And man, I'm just be completely honest. That person made a huge mistake. I don't know if that's like what normally happens and the normal results they get. I have no clue. I've seen models and animations of the surgeries and stuff both ways. I'm gonna be completely honest. They're butchering these people. They're straight up, like they're butchering these people. And I'll put it this way. If someone came to you and said, or went to a doctor, went to a physician and said, hey, you know what? I don't really like the way I walk. I think my feet should be a different way. So I need you to cut off all my toes and then attach them to the back of my foot. Right? Would any physician okay that surgery? No, because it sounds ridiculous for me to say it. But you kind of look what they do with people's genitalia. I mean, it's really kind of what they do, right? So let's get into this article that started this whole firestorm that got me on this discussion today. It says, and this is from Turning Point USA, says that, hold up, let's back up. Male trans activist says women don't own womanhood or periods. Now let's stop right there. We can't even get past you can't even get past the headline. Yeah, anybody want to explain this to me, how women don't own periods? I'm confused. We haven't even got started yet, and I'm confused. And I heard it in the video, and I was just sitting there. You know how you ever had a conversation and somebody starts talking, and as soon as they start talking, you just stop listening because they saying something that you think is ridiculous, or you think is a ridiculous lie, and you feel like almost like they trolling you in real life. And you're like, this person disrespecting my intelligence. I'm not gonna sit here and listen to this. Or if I have to, because of it's like a professional situation, a work situation, I'll sit here, but I'm not gonna listen to this. Like either way, I'm not really listening. It may appear to be that I'm listening. That's how it was when I saw this. It's just like, I just don't. The audacity to me is what's wild. The audacity of any male, used to be male, partially male, whatever you want to call it, born as a male, no longer, whatever terms you want to use, the audacity of that person saying that women don't own womanhood is so astounding, and it goes to show how far we have let this get out of hand. And of course, like most things, whenever there's someone who wants to lead off and do something controversial and launch an attack, they always find somebody black to come off and shoot their mouth off and cause a bunch of confusion, especially in the black community, but in America in general at this point. And the reason they do it, of course, and the reason they play it up is, let's be honest, because then they can always use the racial angle to attack the person, like who attacks someone who says something that's inherently false. You see what I'm saying? So this person says women don't own womanhood. Okay, that's false. I'm not debating that with nobody. I don't care. They can take down the video, whatever they want. That's just false. Period. Objectively false. Women don't own periods. Again, false. Okay, that just biologically, that's just false. I ain't arguing with nobody about that. So, of all the people who may think that, who could have said it, of course, it's always a black person that comes with that. And then if non-black people say, hold up, that's false, I don't agree with that, that's not biologically true, then they say, okay, this white person is racist. If the black person says it, like, hey, wait a minute, then of course the person is transphobic or homophobic. So either way, they throw these slurs at you or these accusations about you being some type of bigot. But what they don't do, you know what they don't do? They don't offer up a debate or call you a liar. You see what I'm saying? They call you a bigot, but they don't call you a liar, right? And that's where we get caught up. We get so scared to be called a bigot that we realize, wait a minute, they ain't called me a liar and they haven't proved me wrong. I need to stand on it, right? So, all right, so let's get into the article real quick. It says, in the latest example, and by the way, I haven't read this, so again, y'all gonna get my natural reaction. So if you see me laughing and stuff or making noises, it's because I haven't read these at all. I compiled them earlier today and left them up and then went on about my business. All right, so it says, in the latest example of the decline of sanity in the United States, a male trans activist has taken to TikTok to chastise women as transphobic for stating that only biological women are women and only women get periods. All right, y'all know what I'm saying. Let's stop right here. Does anyone in the chat want to explain to me how it's transphobic for women to say that women are women. Anyone help me out here, because again, I am genuinely confused. Like, to me, this is like saying Shaquille O'Neal is tall. You know what I'm saying? Michael Jordan was a good basketball player in the NBA. I mean, like, you're just stating the obvious. Like, oh, it's 9 a.m. The sun is up. You know what I'm saying? And so somebody's like, hey, the sun is not up. Actually, the earth is, hey, bro. Yeah, I know, but you know what I mean? The sun is up. I'm not here to argue with you. Like, to me, that's what this is. This is a person just stating objective reality, and then people getting confused. So let's get back to the article. Says the audacity and the arrogance for cis women. I hate that term. Anybody want to break that down to me one day? Help me out. But anyway, I hate that term. I just hate the term. For quote unquote cis women to believe that they own periods, that they own womanhood, you don't okay. And man, whoever wrote this turning point, they don't like this at all. They says the makeup wearing man begins. like they're like, yo, get this out of here. This is hilarious the way they wrote it. Now this wait a minute, hold up. Let's start right here. It just dawned on me. So this person said that women are audacious and arrogant to believe that they own periods. It's, you know what? Again, man, I'm confounded. I'm astounded. I am befuddled that a person who has not experienced and cannot experience these things, right, is claiming that women are audacious and arrogant for claiming an objective reality of their lives. This is wild. I mean, are y'all peeping this? Am I the only one that think this is wild? And Brother Lee Clinton says a German gay man created the cis word in the late 1990s. And Brother, you got ripped off, says cisgender, is a term used to describe a person whose gender identity corresponds to their sex assigned at birth. It is the antonym of transgender. Right. Now stop right there. What's the key word in this? That definition you just gave me. And I understand your definition is the definition they give, but what is the key word here? It says what to their sex assigned. That's false. Sex isn't assigned. Your sex is determined by your genes. Period. Point blank, period. But I understand what you're saying. I do understand what you're saying. And it says the prefix, cis means on the side of. Okay. Thank you for that, brother. Thank you for that information. But yeah, see, and it's good to understand that, and good to understand the roots of these terms and what they mean, but it's also good to not validate the language of the insane. You see what I'm saying? That's something that we have to be very careful of when we have these discussions, to validate these terms, because again, words help to define reality. And so when we adopt these terms and we use these terms and we validate these terms, then all of a sudden we find ourselves taking on the mentality of people who have made themselves objective enemies of our reality. Because our reality is that Black women who are born women are women. And they do, in fact, own aspects of womanhood, like, for example, breastfeeding, giving birth, having periods, you know what I'm saying, eventually going through menopause, so forth and so on. Those are things that are objectively owned by natural born women, period, point blank. Right? Now, says here on Twitter, female Twitter user responded, I am not a quote unquote cis woman. I'm a woman. I own all aspects of my gender, including periods, childbirth, and nursing. Don't mansplain to me with your fake boobs, eyelashes, and ridiculous amounts of makeup, she tweeted. Well, that clap back was serious. that's what's funny is she said half of what I said and then added some more to the mix. All right. Says Buck Angel. A female to male transgender also chimed in on the conversation, stating, only a female gets a period. Angel then went on to share that as a biological woman, the only reason she no longer gets a period is due to using testosterone for 30 years. I had them and now I look like a man and have used testosterone for 30 years and do not get it anymore. And I am happy, but not one single biological man has ever had a period, Angel tweeted. Now this is kind of crazy. So a female to male transgender who's been on testosterone for 30 years is even saying, no, you're wrong. So there's confusion amongst them. We got trans on trans clapbacks here. And this is all very much more interesting than I ever thought it was when I picked up this article. It says this is one of the many examples of men trying to force their way into women's spaces, with another trans activist recently telling women that if they were uncomfortable with trans women in women's restrooms, they could use the restroom at home. Wait, what? Use the restroom at home. But women continue to fight back against the erasure of their gender and are continuing to speak out against this insanity. Now label videos of men like the above as transplaining. That's kind of hilarious to me. So that's the end of that article. Go on to our next article. But it is, let me say this. And Brother Genie said this a while ago. And he said, and I agree with him, he said the most toxic form, he either said the most toxic or the only form of toxic masculinity, I can't, either or, is, at the time he said, homosexuality. But now I'm going to one up that and say, is transgenderism, because this is a person who has rejected who they are to bogart and bully their way into taking over the spaces of women and to erase them and replace them as the pinnacle of what they are naturally. That's as toxic. That's the highest form of toxic masculinity to me. But it's not framed that way, right? But now women, I think, are starting to see, hey, wait a minute. This thing has kind of gotten a little off track. But I'm going to say it. I got to say it, sisters. Y'all going to be mad at me. But we got to keep it a buck here. Got to keep it 100. Just like I had to keep it a buck about the fight earlier. Got to keep it a buck here. In the black community. And I cannot find that video now, but there was a European female. She was talking about this. And I was like, okay, it's not just the black community. But we're just dealing with the black community for right now. In the black community, for there has been a significant amount of support among a significant amount of Black women supporting the rainbow agenda, and then a larger portion of sisters refusing to stand against it. I've said this before, I'll say this again, and I'm gonna keep saying it. A lot of our people want to be for something without being against something. And when you won't stand against something that you see is detrimental, it eventually comes back to bite you in the backside. And now here we are. So the generation of sisters that was co-signing this stuff back in the day, the ones that was buying the Elin Harris books, the ones that was supporting Tyler Perry movies before he was big, was supporting Tyler Perry when he was doing the plays. They had taken whole church groups and all that stuff. And he up here, big old 6'4" dude, however big he is, sitting around dressing up as a woman and making mockery of people's grandmother in reality, in a skit that he got from some homosexuals in Atlanta, to my understanding. Now all that has come back to the point of some of these dudes be big as I don't know what, some of the biggest, burliest dudes you ever seen need to be lining up on linebacker, playing linebacker and knocking the snot out of somebody. They up here wearing a dress and high heels and makeup and trying to tell women they not women. I never forget, my mother used to say, it is bad, it is true. She just make me laugh. I used to just look, be like, my mother used to say, why in the world do the ugliest dudes want to put on makeup and try to be a woman? And I used to just laugh. I'm not, it was just funny to me. Before they straight by Pride Brother Dessalines. But we do see, we see a lot of that in the Black community. I was talking to a sister the other day. She was like, seeing them dude like 6'2" just running around. Maybe he was less than 6'2", he had 3-inch heels on. That's always possible too. But nonetheless, full outfit, but was obviously a male. So I wasn't there to see. Because sometimes you see some of these people, they wearing women's clothes and everything, but they walk around. This is what I've seen lately, and it throws me off completely. I've seen obvious males wearing women's clothes, walking around with a beard. So I don't know what that is. When I say I don't know what that is, I'm saying I don't know what the terminology is for that person, because they seem to kind of be just in the middle of doing something. They kind of, I don't know what's happening there. You know what I'm saying? So anybody know what that is? You can put that in the chat. All right, so let's go on with this article. I ain't gonna lie, this show is going longer than I thought it was gonna go. So it says, hold up, I didn't even at the top. This is from Rolling Stone. It says a Black comedian went on a transphobic rant. This trans actress won't let it slide. Oh yeah, hold up. That's false. That's cap. In fact, she did not go on a transphobic rant. She was defending Black women. So now we figured we got that part out. Says after comedian Jess Hilarious compared trans people to mental patients, actor T.S. Madison, which obviously I guess we know what that stands for, tells Rolling Stone she's fighting back for her community. Oh, hold up. Let's look at this picture. Let's do some analysis. All right, Black women. And I forgot to say this too. I do want to, in 2 weeks, have a panel discussion with about 3 or 4 sisters. And just talk about some different things about Black womanhood, the state of Black womanhood, Black male female relationships, rainbow issue, all that stuff. So if y'all know anybody greetings to Sister Martha. So if y'all know anybody who y'all think would be good for that discussion, DM me on Instagram. And then I haven't even put it out yet, but I'm gonna put it out on Instagram probably tomorrow morning or sometime tomorrow. And I'm gonna try to get a couple of maybe 4 or 5 sisters, different ages, different age range, and talk about, and have a sit down discussion. So my plan for that is on August 13th, the week after Brother Janie, which Brother Janie will be here next week. It's currently scheduled, I'll put it that way. So I want to look at this picture because I find this picture interesting. And the reason I find this picture interesting is because we have blonde, weave, tons of makeup, tattoos, and person scantily clad. And this is them at the Los Angeles LGBT Gala in Los Angeles. The reason I want to focus on this picture is because of something that I said to a sister. Okay, brother, you got ripped off. See, Sister Vanessa? See, you done jumped the gun to what I'm getting to. I was talking to a sister, right? And we were talking about this whole thing. And I said one of the ways that sisters can destroy this whole idea that men can be women is for all black women to go natural. Because if all black women go natural, it's going to be real. We're going to find out real quickly who's who. And then as far as the men goes, we're going to find out real quickly who really likes the Transformers and who really likes the women. You see what I'm saying? Because this is what has taken place. And I talked about this, y'all. Those of y'all that seen my Goddess Black Woman lecture, you heard me say this. The standard look of black women is modeled after the standard look of quote unquote trans women. The weave, the heavy makeup, the tattoos, being scantily clad, being ostentatious in your behavior, being very vulgar with your speech and your acts and everything like that. The overinflated anatomy. We see that more and more amongst our women, but who did they get the look from? They got the look from these people. They got the look from the men. The men were imitating the women, and now the women are imitating the men, imitating the women. So it takes you back to what John Henry Clark said, how long are we going to be the imitators of imitators? And that's what sisters have got caught up in. So now the more sisters look like this, the more these people can claim to be women. But if the women back to their natural selves, then everybody's going to be exposed. And it's going to take us back to reality because we're going to literally see who's who. You see what I'm saying? All right, so let's get into this article real quick. Says when trans activist and actress T.S. Madison was scrolling on Instagram last week, they never considered that a small circulating video from a TikTok creator would end in a quote-unquote transphobic rant from one of the internet's biggest comedians. Okay, so she's one of the internet's biggest comedians. But that's exactly what happened. On Saturday, comedian Jess Hilarious posted a video on Instagram responding to TikTok creator Blessing Rose, quote-unquote. Jess, whose real name is Jessica Moore. Now, hold up. Why we got to put her real name over here, but we ain't got Blessing Rose? What's his real name? Anyway, I digress. Took umbrage with a video of Rose stating that cis women don't own womanhood, as she should have. As a stand-up comedian and internet star, Moore is best known for the no-holds-barred approach to comedy she perfected on the MTV series Wild 'N Out. Okay, so I never even knew she was on that. All right, cool. And it's the same energy she brought to Instagram with a fiery speech calling trans women delusional, mentally insane, and angry. Okay. It says here, she got vulgar. Who the F is standing up, is going to stand up for us? More asked in the now deleted video. And us, I mean real women. Biological women. When does the delusion stop? What is the difference between a trans person and someone that's been diagnosed to be mentally insane? The only difference is you don't have a straitjacket on. So she just leaned in. See, I didn't get to watch the whole video, so I didn't know that. Then it says, if a white comedian with a following of 5 million people deep posted a similar rant on Instagram, the backlash might have enough to incur a late apology. But quote unquote trans issues get far more dicey in the black community, despite the fact that this thing jumped around on me. That was weird. Despite the fact that transgender people of color, here we go with the people of color thing, especially trans women, are far more likely to be murdered or experience violent attacks. According to a national survey from Pew Research, 2/3 of black adults believe gender is determined by sex you're assigned. Here we go with the assigned part. Something that can't be changed. For the general public, this statistic is slightly lower, around 60%. All right, let's stop right there. So basically what they're saying is that black people have definitely are the people who are most resistant to this, which we already know. You know what I'm saying? Hey, I'm gonna be honest, black people are in bad shape mentally. We go into a lot of stuff, we falling behind a lot of madness, but at least on this issue, black people are like, oh, hold up. Nah. Nope. Not gonna get into it, not gonna buy it. And then of course, when they talk about this whole likely be murdered and experience violent attack, we're gonna address that shortly. But I'm gonna just get into something real quick as I was doing the research for this. Because again, for those who were here with us last week, what did we talk about? We talk about the crafting of narratives where when a person commits an act of violence as a quote unquote trans person, they suddenly get sent back to their natural gender, right? Well, if you try to look up the data and statistics for so-called trans women committing acts of violence against women, Google will automatically send you to the inverse of what you're looking for and will tell you about violence committed against quote unquote trans persons. But what they don't do is give you the context of what's happening. As someone who has known people in law enforcement here in the DMV and having talked about these issues years ago, right? What they tell you is that what's really happening is these people are in essence catfishing people, and then when brothers are finding out what's really going on and they find what they ain't looking for, that's when physical altercations and physical violence takes place. And that's been the case for a few years now, because I've talked to people in law enforcement. These are conversations that they don't have publicly. These are conversations they have when they're people who are related to you, or people that you know what I'm saying, socially, or people you know from type of employment you do, things like that. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times, if you're in the medical profession, depending on what you do, you come across law enforcement and emergency personnel, things like that. You have conversations and stuff like that. And Brother Dessalines says, this article is only written as a bat symbol to rally all their troops to attack Jesse Larry's. I concur with that assessment, good brother. So Jess and Brother Desaline also says, also, violence amongst trans relationships are the most common. And it's funny because they did put some data and statistics up for that as I was looking. But when it comes to the acts of violence and violation that is done by these people against women, see, the data and statistics gets hidden in the search engine for that, which I found out today. I was like, oh, I see how this works. They've literally given me the inverse, and no matter how I tweak that search, I'm like, they've literally given me the inverse of what I'm looking for here. This is interesting and intentional. And this is the danger. You know what I'm saying? This is the danger. Like, when people say Google is your friend, nah, Google's not your friend. Google's a tool. But Google is not your friend. And Brother You Got Ripped Off says, notice how white people band together to remove a female impersonator from a beer company, and the guy is now in seclusion for fear of his life. Wait a minute, hold up. Let's talk about it. Let's put that on the screen. I didn't know that had gotten as far as that had gotten. I had saw just their I saw that their sales had gone down, and this, they had lost a lot of business. But I didn't know that backlash was as fierce as you said, brother. I wasn't paying attention as closely. So I didn't know that. And Brother Crow says many of the Transformers are predators and like to prey on children. Right. And that's something that they deny, but okay, why, if you're a grown man, or you were grown, let's say you were a grown man a month ago. Right? Let's just say you're a grown man a month ago. Why are you following young girls into the restroom? Just on general principle. As you know what I'm saying? Like, why? Or you can't wait till the person come out. I mean, we just asking questions. All right, so we've seen that article. Now let's get to a recent example. We have a recent example of things that can happen that they don't often mention in the media. And this happened locally. This was this is 2 days ago. The article was 2 days ago. It says suspect arrested in robbery of 66-year-old woman near Reston, this is in Virginia, bus stop. Fairfax County Police have charged a Reston resident in a robbery of a 66-year-old woman near a metro bus stop. On Monday evening, the victim struck up a conversation with the suspect on a bus near the Hunter Woods Shopping Center in Reston, Virginia. After exiting the bus about 8:20 p.m., she sat on a bench in the 1100 block of North Shore Drive, and the suspect sat next to her. Then robbed her of her wallet, police said in the news release. A physical struggle occurred between the victim and the suspect, at which time the suspect ran from the scene and was not located. The release says the victim was not seriously injured. This is our perpetrator. Says James David Freeman, also known as Jasmine Freeman or Kelly Freeman, right? So I'm gonna ask y'all, is this a trans person or not? You see how, you remember last week, the guy that shot up girl, the guy that had two names, Kim Brady dude, guy, girl, Kim Brady person. Remember how they wasn't, they was walking around as a woman, admittedly by her neighbors. They're walking around as a woman, but according to the article, was not transgender. Is this person transgender? See, we need to figure out, is it something where as soon as the person commits the crime, they're not transgender? Is that how this works? Or are they transgender after they commit the crime? Like, what's really happening here? So, Says detectives later identified a 38-year-old resident with the legal name James David Freeman in a connection with the robbery. The suspect identifies as, that's a key word, identifies as Jasmine Freeman and Kelly Freeman. Freeman was arrested without issue on Wednesday and held without bond at the Fairfax County Jail. All right. So, as we see here, straight black pride to Danielle Davis. As we see here, I just read your comment. You got ripped off. We're gonna wait for September 7th. I believe that's the day to deal with Brother Polite. We're not gonna do anything before that. We're not gonna really discuss it before that. We're gonna wait till then. But here, this is a case that I'm sure y'all didn't see on your news because you're not local. I am local. Didn't see it on my news. This was sent to me by a brother. Like, hey, did you see this? And I'm like, no, I did not see this. So let's review. These people want to tell us they're the victims of crime. They're always the victims. They're the victims, the victims, the victims. And yet we have here Mr. Ms. Freeman intimidating and strong-arming a 66-year-old woman. Right? But they're the victims. And no one wants to talk about it. And I guess because this person has a horrible makeup job, we're not going to discuss it. Let's move further. Lawsuit. And this is from, and I thought I had covered this before, but I found out that this was a different case. So what I covered, this is different from the one I covered. But we're going to talk about the one I covered. It says lawsuit. Female prisoner says she was sexually violated by transgender inmate. An inmate at the Illinois, reading before I actually get to the words. I'm assuming things. An inmate at Illinois' largest women's prison says that she was sexually violated by a transgender inmate who was transferred into her housing unit last year, and claims the Illinois Department of Corrections officials conducted a sham investigation to help cover up the incident. In a federal lawsuit filed last week, a Jane Doe inmate at the Logan Correctional Facility in Central Illinois said that after being sexually assaulted in June 2019, she was coerced by a supervisory officer into denying that the act took place and then punished for filing a quote-unquote false complaint under the Prison Rape Elimination Act, PREA. The suit names Logan's acting warden, Beatrice Calhoun, as a defendant, along with officers Brent Keeler and Todd Sexton. The transfer of transgender inmates from male to female facilities has been a contentious policy within IDOC, the plaintiff's Peoria-based attorneys wrote in a 5-page complaint. In an attempt to justify the transfers, defendants Sexton, Calhoun, and Keeler, and other unknown IDOC employees covered up the assault of the plaintiff and tried to falsely classify it as consensual to keep it from being considered a PREA violation. The transgender inmates who were housed in men's prison, Strawberry Hampton and Janiyah Monroe, have sued IDOC separately in recent years, demanding they be moved to Logan because they allegedly they'd allegedly been the target of harassment and abuse from male inmates and prison employees. Alan Mills, who leads the Uptown People's Law Center, a Chicago-based legal group, which has represented both Hampton and Monroe, confirmed Monroe is the inmate who is being accused in this case, though he is dismissive of the allegations. Let's stop right there. All right. Let's review. So, we have a biological male who's been transferred from the men's prison to the women's prison. He sexually assaults a woman. Then they try to say that they sued to be transferred because they were victims of harassment where they were. So what's the natural solution to this problem? We're just gonna go with if everyone's telling the truth. Let's say they were harassed in the men's prison. Now, to be completely honest, I doubt the veracity of their statements. Only in the sense of, and again, have not been incarcerated. Only have talked to people that have been incarcerated. But as things have changed, they've really been, I put it like this, there are ways for these people to be protected by powerful people within the prison system. But instead, they wanted to be in a different facility, and immediately they are accused of violating someone else. So what they accuse other people of doing, they are now being accused of doing. So that means that now, because we have co-signed this and we've allowed this to get out of hand, the only logical step is now you're going to have to build a separate facility to keep these people away from all this stuff. You see how this just continues to get out of hand? Because they claim they're being harassed by the men, but they're out here assaulting the women, so they can't be around either one. And Brother Daniel says now some of the feminists are starting to speak out against this. Brother, in a lecture I did about 4 years ago, there was a British feminist who was speaking out against the whole trans situation. So it was the weirdest thing when I first saw it. But yeah, there have been feminists who were speaking out, and now it's going to get louder and louder because they realize now what they're dealing with. Says an IDOC spokeswoman did not respond to multiple requests for comments. According to the new lawsuit, Monroe, who is identified as transgender inmate who identifies as female but still has male genitalia, was moved into the plaintiff's housing unit on June 18, 2019, and immediately began expressing an interest in the plaintiff. The plaintiff was terrified of this inmate as the inmate was much bigger and stronger than the plaintiff. It's not surprising, the lawsuit states. Plaintiff had also heard that this inmate had assaulted prior cellmates and had been convicted of homicide. That same day, the plaintiff says she was sexually violated by Monroe, whose name is not included nor listed as a defendant in the complaint. Following the incident, the plaintiff was moved into the prison's healthcare unit, where she was interviewed by internal affairs officers, according to the complaint. The following day, she was interviewed by Sexton, who allegedly told her that he did not believe her, and he pressured the plaintiff to say there was no sexual assault. The plaintiff said she was coerced into providing this statement and filed a grievance with IDOC soon after regarding that interview. She was then relocated about 40 miles away to the Decatur Correctional Center. 2 months later, according to the complaint, she learned IDOC had determined she committed a major infraction for allegedly filing a false PREA complaint. That led to months of continued punishment during her continued incarceration, the complaint states. Mills said he was aware of the allegations against Monroe, but noted that IDOC had deemed the plaintiff's claims unfounded. Now, it never says here, and maybe I'm jumping the gun on what I'm looking at, but it never says here that there was any actual medical examination done to determine if the violation took place, which is weird to me. But I guess if you're trying to cover it up, you don't really care about that. It says, our understanding is that the Department of Corrections investigated this incident and found that it was consensual and not rape. He said, so the underlying claim here, I think, is without merit. Mills said his client had faced similar accusations of harassment since she was moved to Logan last April, though this was the first he was aware of to include a specific allegation of sexual violation. Said the other cases have similarly been unfounded and claimed Monroe had been targeted due to quote unquote transphobia. Ah, boy. Y'all all right? Brother Crow says, no, you got ripped off. Says, nah, just put them dudes in gin pop with the men. The men violators. And brother, you got ripped off. Says, yeah, and unless this has changed, brother, that's a good point. How's there consensual relations taking place when consensual relations in prison is banned? That's what I thought too. And Brother Crow says, I blame Obama for his policies and giving these people all these rights that they shouldn't have. Weirdos are the people we're talking about right at this moment. We've talked about that also. So let's get to our next. Wait, hold up. Do I have a video for? Yeah, let me check. Do I have a video for this? All right, let me get this next article. And then I think I have a video for this. But we're going to get to the next article first. It says, hold up. Do I want to do this? Yeah, I'll do this one. It says, trans prisoner, excuse me, is a psychopath. 2 female inmates. Wait, my bad. Let's try this again. It says, trans prisoner who impregnated 2 female inmates is a psychopath, according to the foster mom. Oh, we got pictures and everything. All right. No, I don't want to sign up. Get this out of here. It says, depending on who you ask, the 27-year-old inmate who impregnated 2 women in a New Jersey prison earlier this year is either a martyr to the transgender cause or a cold-blooded killer who got involved in a messy love triangle behind bars. Demi Minor, a troubled foster kid, then called Demetrius, had a record of burglaries and at least 1 carjacking at gunpoint before brutally stabbing foster father Theodis Ted Butts 27 times in 2011 at the age of 16. It was the worst murder scene I've ever seen, Brad Wertheimer, one of Minor's defense lawyers, in 2011 told the Post. There was blood everywhere. The community was outraged. The foster dad was considered a great guy and angel. So, Demetrius, Demi Minor, this is this person here. He's a murderer. Yes, no, allegedly. I guess they've been convicted, so we don't have to say allegedly. Convicted murderer. Says, but Demetrius is now Demi, a transgender woman activist fighting to be returned to a women's prison after being removed from the state's lone facility for females in June when it was discovered that he had impregnated 2 other inmates. They were sent to lockup where they're the only person identifying as female. The legal team is fighting for transfer under a new and controversial state policy enabling inmates to be housed according to their preferred gender identity. Demi is also known as an advocate for juvenile justice for elaborate social media presence and a team of advocates who backed them since 2020. They are a force to be reckoned with, a triumph. I admire their ability to navigate the system. They're pretty level-headed and has risen above a lot. An advocate for, says Derek Demiri, an advocate for the LGBT community, told the Post. But Minor's former foster mother, Dr. Wanda Broach Butts, whose husband was murdered, said she believes that Minor is a manipulative psychopath who uses transgenderism as a ruse to get special treatment and attention in jail. She says she worries for the female inmates if Minor is returned to the women's prison. I think all this about them being transgender is a ploy. He's manipulating people to get a better situation for himself and to get attention. He's learned the language to use. He's dangerous and he's a psychopath. Let's stop right here. So we have Piece of Black Pearl Inc. So we have a transgender murderer who's running around impregnating women in prison. But again, let them tell it. These people are always the victims. They don't hurt anyone. They don't commit any crimes. They don't violate anyone. And we have documentation here that the person's foster mother is like, hey, this person is dangerous. Do not allow them back there. You see, the narrative we get in the objective reality of what's taking place are not, they're contradicting each other here. Man, as a brother, you showing your age, say remind them of this TV show MASH. You're showing your age with that one. That hasn't been on in a long time. So I think I do have a video for this. So we're going to play this video, and hopefully this is the right clip. And if it's not the right clip, I know, at least I know, it is, that's the word I'm looking for. It is indeed related to the topic at hand. That much I know. But if it's the one with this exact case, we're about to find out collectively.
So in modern America, if you point out that biological sex is a physical reality, you can be fired from your job. The Washington Post will send a reporter to your house to intimidate you, but it doesn't change anything. Denying reality doesn't change reality. You could say gravity isn't real, but if you jump off the roof of your garage, you're still going to get hurt. And that's true for biological sex. It is, in fact, real, whether the authorities admit it or not. Officials in New Jersey are learning that lesson this week. 2 female inmates at a supposedly all-women's prison in New Jersey have just become pregnant. You wonder how that happened. Well, it turns out those women had sexual encounters with another inmate who was a biological man passing as a woman. Now, some people predicted that this would happen, and they were laughed at, mocked, and attacked as bigots. Kara Dansky is at the very top of that list. She said this years ago on our show. She's the president of the U.S. chapter of the Women's Declaration International, author of the book, The Abolition of Sex, How the Transgender Agenda Harms Women and Girls, and we are happy to have Kara Dansky back. Kara, thanks so much for coming on. I'll never forget the first time, and it had to have been at least 4 years ago, when you said, if we keep going down this path, we're going to have biological men in women's prisons. And you were right.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. You know, though, the story that's happening in New Jersey is obviously horrible for so many reasons. We need to not have men being housed in women's prisons. But a couple takeaways from this that I just want to point out are, first of all, the state is not getting away with this by telling its residents that they are housing men in women's prisons. What they are doing, of course, is telling the residents that they are housing so-called transgender women or trans women in women's prisons, suggesting that there is some sort of subcategory of women that is called transgender women or trans women, and it's not true. The fact of this story shoots a hole right through the trope that trans women are women. Our society has been taught that we are supposed to say and think that trans women are women, but obviously that is not true, because the individuals that are the focus of the story impregnated women, and every thinking adult, no matter what the President of the United States has to say on the matter, knows that there is no category of women who can impregnate women. So I really want to thank you for highlighting this story. And I also just want to point out that this is not just a problem in New Jersey. This is a problem across the country. I know that we have talked previously about how the state of California recently enacted a law at the end of 2020, which went into effect in 2021, which mandates that men be housed in women's prisons on the basis of their so-called gender identity if they say that they are women. Washington State has a similar policy. However, this is not just happening in blue states. This is happening across the country. As far as I know, 49 states plus the District of Columbia have some form of law or policy in place that mandates the housing of men in women's prisons.
Why is it left to you and J.K. Rowling and a couple of others to point this out? Where are the physicians who know perfectly well that what you're saying is true, the biologists who know it every bit as well? Why are they going along with this when they know it's a lie?
So the entire medical establishment in the United States has been captured by so-called trans ideology. And what I really want all Americans across the political spectrum to understand is that trans is not a civil rights movement to protect a marginalized community of people. It is a multi-trillion-dollar industry that is pushing this. It is paying the medical establishment. It is paying most media outlets. It is paying our government. It is paying our schools. It is at all levels, elementary schools through college, to push the idea that the material reality of sex does not exist, and that what is more important than the material reality of sex is so-called gender identity. This is all being pushed by a multi-trillion-dollar industry in the guise of a civil rights movement. It's all a lie.
And these are the people providing our medical care. It's really scary when you put it that way.
They are. I know someone who is a medical student right now, and she is horrified about what's being taught. I do just want to say really quickly, there's something that has been announced in the past couple of weeks called the Women's Bill of Rights. This was drafted by members of the Women's Liberation Front and by members of Independent Women's Voices, supported by my organization, Women's Declaration International, as well as Concerned Women for America. And I really hope that one of the members of Congress introduces it. Thank you so much.
I hope so too. Great to see you. We'll be right back.
So that was from the Tucker Carlson show. Let you know that that's a little old because Tucker Carlson show no longer exists. But I was laughing as I was watching it. I was watching it real time with you all. And the fact that she was using air quotes and saying that, just like, hey, this stuff is not real. I just found that interesting. So we're going to look at another article quickly. And this from Toronto Sun. So this is for Canada, but it'd be interesting to see what the data says in America. It says study finds that nearly 45% of quote unquote trans women inmates are convicted of crimes and of a sexual nature. Says a shocking new Correctional Service of Canada study has revealed that 44% of male to female transgender inmates are behind bars for sexual offenses. That is pretty astounding to me. It says spanning the years of 2019 through 2020, 99 gender diverse inmates took part in a wide-ranging study designed to provide the CSC with a profile of this segment of the prison population. He says we've known this all along. A former federal inmate and advocate, Heather Mason, told the Toronto Sun, but I'm really surprised that they did the study. It's pretty damning indeed. It's shocking. Says of the 99 inmate sample group, 44% of the trans women convicts are sex offenders. 82% of gender diverse offenders were trans women with an average age of 42 years old, and almost half were serving indeterminate sentences. So I guess that means that they just, you just in there until they get tired of you being in there. 2/3 had low reintegration potential. About 64% of these offenders had committed a current sexual offense, while 88% had previously been convicted for sexual offense. About 94% committed their crimes while living their biological sex. Okay. All right, let's stop right there. Let's stop and let's process this information real quick. So they're saying that these people who are identifying as transgender are really people who have been convicted, are in essence convicted sexual predators, as far as the study done in Canada. Now, it's a small study, admittedly, but that's something that study is, I'll put it like this, it is interesting enough that a further larger study done internationally, I think, would be warranted based upon the findings of this study that we're looking at. And again, no one wants to talk about the fact that who are the type of people who are identifying as transgender, at least within the prison system, and what have they been convicted of, and what type of people are they, right? So I think this is interesting. It says the vast majority, 85%, were convicted of violent crimes that caused death and or serious harm to their victims, 58% of which were either women or children. Let's stop right there. The vast majority, 85%, were convicted of violent crimes, and nearly 60% of the victims of those violent crimes were women or children. It says it's quite shocking. The study also shows that 41% of quote unquote trans women are in for homicide related crimes, while with male inmates it's only 21%. So twice the percentage of just regular men. And then here's a key part right here. Let's go right here. Let's take a look at it. This is not me. This is according to this study. It says the study also found that 70% of trans offenders with sex crimes jackets were what? Themselves victims of childhood abuse. Study also noted over 80% of gender diverse offenders with sexual offense histories were trans women, quote unquote. Sexual offending indicators showed that the majority of these offenses were committed while living their biological sex, and the highest proportion of victims were women and children. What have we been saying, brothers and sisters? That these types of people have a predilection to commit their crimes against women and children, but nobody wants to talk about it because no one wants to even admit that these people commit crimes. The narrative is that they're always the victim. And yet, at least in Canada, the Canada study shows these people are victimizers, even points to the root of it being themselves being victims of child abuse. And it doesn't state whether that is physical or child sexual abuse, which I'm going to go out on a limb and say the vast majority is child sexual abuse, right? See, no one wants to discuss these issues. We just want to kumbaya our way through everything, but we're not looking at the documentation and seeing what's really going on behind the curtain. We just supposed to accept people as they are and not look at what they do until after it's done, and you can't remedy it because it's already been done. And so do you have people who claim to be victims becoming victimizers, and nobody wants to address the issue? And when somebody calls them out on a transgression or calls them out on them just completely violating the sanctity of womanhood, you can call some type of bigot. Even though it's obvious that womanhood, as we talked about earlier, with masculinity being under attack, we talked about the feminization of black male. Brother Jenny been talking about that 20 years. More than that now. We see womanhood under attack the same way. And when somebody like Just Hilarious decides to say, hey, hold up, wait a minute. You're overstepping your bounds. Then people come for her neck and try to quote unquote cancel her to the point where she backs up in fear and deletes the video, even though she was right. And as I said at the beginning of this whole discussion, when you are correct, stand on the truth, regardless of whom or what. Because if you stand on the truth, people will rally to your cause, even people who may not previously have had any reason to even like you. Brother was telling me that another comedian, Corey Holcomb, backed her up, even though allegedly they have they're not fond of each other on a personal level for whatever reason. But in this instance, Corey Holcomb backed up Just Hilarious with her statements and said she was right. So we're going to do this last article, and then we're going to review again the upcoming events before we close out. And I'm trying to remember, there was a specific part I want to say this, but it says transgender individuals at greater risk of mental health problems. This is a Yale study from Yale School of Public Health from a couple of years ago, 3 years ago now. And first of all, here's the interesting part. The initial study basically came with a recommendation in support of gender affirming surgeries, to which they then added an amendment stating that is not the end all and be all, and will not, in fact, solve all of these mental problems. I just found that interesting when I read it. Says correction, the article, reduction in mental health treatment utilization amongst transgender individuals after gender affirming quote unquote surgeries, a total population study published in the American Journal of Psychology on October 4th, 2019, has been corrected following a review of the study's methodology and some of its conclusions. This news item has likewise been corrected to reflect that the author's original conclusion was too strong in suggesting that the study's findings support providing gender affirming surgeries to transgender individuals who seek them. Just stop right there. Listen to what it's saying. It's saying that that conclusion, in essence, was false. That if people have mental health problems and you just chop off their sausage, they're going to be better. It's saying that is incorrect. Now, the study, which reviewed 10 years of medical data for the entire population of Sweden, is one of the only analyses of transgender individuals' mental health treatment for depression, anxiety disorders, and suicide based on an entire country's population. So this is a rare study. Says the study reviewed, no, my bad. It says in this study, the researchers analyzed medical outcomes between 2005 and 2015 for 2,679 individuals in the Swedish population who had received a diagnosis of gender incongruence. Study found that transgender individuals who received a diagnosis of gender incongruence were 6 times more likely to have mood or anxiety disorder than the general population, 3 times as likely to be prescribed antidepressants or anti-anxiety medications, more than 6 times more likely to have attempted to end themselves, resulting in hospitalizations. Stop right there. The reason I brought that article up is very simple, brothers and sisters. These people have mental health problems, and that's why this whole issue exists. We're kowtowing to people who are mentally disturbed. People who can't deal with the objective reality of who they are as a person biologically and are having issues with it. And so they're bending the entire society to their will of us having to accept them as they want to be and not as who they are. That's where we're at. And the reality of womanhood is being sacrificed and really being, at this point, being virtually demolished to placate a small percentage of a small but growing percent of the population that's mentally ill. So we're let's find, wait a minute, what did I do with my what did I do with my posters? But as a reminder, upcoming, and I haven't finished designing the thumbnail for it yet, but upcoming August 6th at 8 p.m. We have Brother Genie scheduled to come through and talk about Ask Him and talk about what he's been doing. And also, I forgot to mention, I forgot this completely, the Ask Him lecture that was done about, I guess, a month and a half ago now, here in Washington, D.C., that is available for digital download at waronthehorizon.com. So you can purchase that lecture. I don't know if Brother Gene's making any physical copies, but it is. I know it's available for digital download. That is a lecture worth purchasing. My understanding is only $20. And so, again, if you have $20 to support the brother, you can go out and get that. at warnhorizon.com. That's the Ask 'em lecture, anti-sexualization of children movement. And Lord Bell comes through. How you been, brother? So you want to get that at warnhorizon.com. And again, also, don't forget, we want, it's a big event. Brother Jeannie is going to be having a discussion with David Duke on September 11th. Monday, September 11th. Monday, September 11th at, having trouble bringing this up. Monday, September 11th at 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 to 7 Central. That live stream will be available at inblackandwhite.net. That's inblackandwhite, all one word, .net. And also, last but not least, the 9th annual Straight Black Pride Movement anniversary cookout will be August 20th, and that will be from 12 to 6 p.m. at Oxen Run Park in Prince George's County, Maryland. And so that's a free event. The food is free. It's free for all straight, black, and proud people. Thank you, brother. You got ripped off. You can also purchase the In Black and White series. And so, and also, I forgot one more thing before I get off here. As of right now, the plan is to have a discussion with sisters August 13th at 8 p.m. here on the DC Radical One YouTube channel. I think maybe 4 or 5 sisters. I have a couple of sisters in mind. Hopefully they will be amenable to the discussion. And man, we're just going to chop it up about various issues affecting the Black community, affecting Black womanhood, affecting Black male-female relations. And because I don't think I've done that in, or even like a male-female relationship panel. I don't think I've done that in maybe a couple of years. Somebody help me on say how long it's been. So we're just gonna do this, man, with a group of sisters and myself, and just talk about some things and see if we can come to some agreement and some understanding. And I was told that maybe even invite somebody or a couple of somebodies who I would normally not interact with socially. So I may do that. We shall see. I gotta talk to the brother. You got ripped off after this discussion because he said he got somebody in mind. I have absolutely no idea who that is. So we will see who that is and how that goes. So, brothers, you can follow me again Instagram at dc.radical1. You can email me at dc.radical_1@protonmail.com. You can follow me on Threads at dc.radical1 and follow me on OTW2 at dcradical1, all one word. The Cashapp is $DC Radical 1, and of course the YouTube. And good brother Lord Vale says it's been a couple of years. So yeah, so it's overdue. The words of Rakim Allah, it's been a long time. So I thank you all for listening. I thank you all for those of you who have subscribed. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button, hit the like button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button. Help us build this channel. We got some big things coming up. And I don't know. I may come back tomorrow because I do have a little free time. I may come back and do another discussion tomorrow. Depends on how I feel. But man, I think that this has been a quality discussion, and I thank you all for coming through. With that, I say a BB Fahodier and straight black pride.